Guys, so I'm gonna mix up some water because I need to do some watering today, and I thought I would just go ahead and show you how I mix up my nutrient water. Do your own research. I use Foliage Focus for my fertilizer, and I've used it since the beginning, and I really don't deviate from it, so I can't speak about any other fertilizers. I can just tell you that that's the one I use, and I've had good luck with it. And then I add a silica, and I also add some SNS 209, which is a liquid systemic. So let's mix that up real quick. Let me get you down. So I use a 5-gallon bucket. I have a lot of plants. I have probably, I think the computer says I have over 700. Now mind you, okay, before you go, oh my God, 700 plants. Yes, I do have over 700. But that's because I sell plants through Marketplace on Facebook. And so those are not all personal plants, okay? So the personal plant collection is much, much smaller. I have a lot of baby plants that are growing, corms and baby plants. And so that encompasses everything, right? They're not all my personal plants, but it's still a lot of plants to take care of and water and manage. So I use a 5-gallon bucket. It looks like my thing is falling again. I'm gonna tilt you up one more time. I'm gonna crank this sucker down, so it's gonna jiggle for a minute, but bear with me. Man, I cannot make it any tighter. All right, so I use a 5-gallon bucket. And as I mentioned yesterday, this is a garage, and so I have access to a hose. So let me go grab the hose so I can fill up my bucket. I do just bring it right into the plant room. So the best thing I ever bought is this quick on-off thing, and I love it. Anyway. All right, so I'm gonna use my foliage. I'm gonna add my Foliage Focus. I put everything in my bucket. So I thought I was being clever when I had a few less plants to manage before. Let me tilt this up so I don't have to bend over and I can stay in frame hopefully. Okay, so I had my husband drill a hole into the top of my lid for my Foliage Focus. And then when I used to actually measure my fertilizer, I ordered this glass pipette on Amazon, and it has this rubber stopper. So I made the hole about the size of the rubber stopper to kind of keep it sealed when I'm not using it, right? But it's easy to use when I need it. And then I can just measure out my fertilizer. But then I switched to using the 5-gallon bucket, and that's not really enough. So it's just kind of a lid. I have measured out the amount that I use on a little cup here, and then I just pour it in. So I know each time that's how much I'm gonna put in there. And then I don't have to like do the dropper thing, right? So I do that, and then I use SNS 209. This is a systemic pest treatment. Let me grab my glasses. Oh, these are the wrong glasses. Let me grab my other glasses. So it's a systemic pest control. And I use this because you can use it for hydroponics, because I grow a lot in pond. And this one is, the main active ingredient is rosemary oil. So the idea behind it is the plants drink up the water with the rosemary oil, makes the leaves taste bad, and then it works on spider mites, whiteflies, fungus gnats, thrips, and root aphids. So I add this in when I water each time. Use the amount that's on the bottle for whatever your amount of water that you're mixing up. I do 3 tablespoons to the 5-gallon bucket, which is a little bit heavy. I think it really should have been about 2.5. But I started doing 3 and I've just left it there. And then I also add in Silica Boost Where's my screen? There it is. Silica Boost. And I have just started using this, and I think this has really made a difference. I was using a different silica before. I have to read this. 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon. I'm doing 5 gallons. So if I did 1, that would be 3. If I did 2, that would be 6. So I'm going to do a whole tablespoon, which would be 3 teaspoons. Okay, I've just started adding this, and I wanted to start on the low side. But so I need 1 teaspoon per gallon, so I need 5. So if I did 2 teaspoons per gallon, that would be 10. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 tablespoons, which is 6 teaspoons. Okay, and then I'm just going to add my water. This is going to be loud for just a second. And it's splashing. And I fill this up mostly to the top. All right, that's it. That's it. So then I will probably let this sit for a minute. Be right back. Take the hose, put the hose away. Now what I did do is I have a little pH tester, and I tested my water before. Okay, so I tested the pH of my water. When I was using a different silica, it had recommended that you test pH, and so I did do that. And I found that when I added the pH, when I added the silica, it raised my pH. So my pH was kind of almost at an optimal level. It was a little bit high. So I think they say like 5.5 to 6 is ideal where you want it for plants. And mine runs about 6.5, 6 to 6.5 with just my foliage focus and my SNS 209. But when I add the silica, it does go up, and it goes up over like 7, 7.5. So I do add a little bit of pH down to bring my pH back down to get it in like the 6-ish range. And it comes down really fast. I add, you have to play with this, but for my whole 5-gallon bucket, I add like barely a half a capful or so, because I don't want to bring it down too far. And that's, my plants are used to that because they've been at that 6-ish range for so long. I used to have a stir stick here. Where did it go? Oh, that's what this stick was. I just have a bamboo stake that I keep handy to stir this up. And we'll go ahead and test it, since I'm kind of new to this silica and it's only like the 3rd time I've used it. But what I was going to tell you guys is when I started using it, I kind of forgot that I had used it. And I was out here and I was looking around, and all of a sudden, a lot of my plants seemed like they'd gotten like super duper green. Like they were green before. They were plant green, right? But they got super duper green. And I kind of panicked a little bit because, see, a few things changed. I added the silica. I had also increased the length of time that my grow lights were running per day. And so I had bumped them up, and they were like running like 12 hours a day. And before that, they had been like 8 to 10, I think. Most of them were closer to 10. But so it wasn't a big increase, but it was an increase. And then also I had accidentally done a little bit heavy-handed pour on the foliage focus. Not very much. I mean, not very much, but it was a little bit of a heavy pour. And so I wasn't sure, and I was afraid that maybe I had added too much fertilizer and I didn't want to end up burning everything. So this next couple times I watered just straight water. I didn't put anything in it. I just did straight water for 2, maybe 3, no. I say 2 or 3 waterings, but it's probably 2 or 3 buckets, which means probably not even everything got just straight water. Because I go through buckets full of water. I need to water. Most of the things in the plant room are okay today, but I have baby plants starts in the kitchen. I have 2 racks that are in the kitchen that have starts on them, and that's what really needs water today. When I do my moss poles, it uses about 3/4 of a bucket. So I go through usually no more than 2 buckets in a day, but you know, with 700 plants, you go through water. Anyway, I was afraid that maybe I had done a heavy pour on the fertilizer. I didn't want to cause fertilizer burns, so I watered a little bit with just straight water to kind of flush a little bit. And now I'm adding it back in. And at first I forgot that I had added the silica, and so I really do think it's the silica that is what's causing the noticeable difference, because that really was the biggest change. Like I said, my heavy pour was like barely heavy. And for 5 gallons over that many plants, I don't think it was that much extra in the fertilizer. And my fertilizer's weak anyway. I do half strength of the hydroponic solution because I water it. I add nutrients every time. And then I do flush my plants about once a month. So they get a watering where they're just getting straight flush, just straight water. I take them to the sink, hose off the leaves, flush the soil about once a month. I try to do once a month. Sometimes it gets away from me, but I try to do once a month. So anyway, I just thought I would fill you in real quick because I was mixing up a bucket full before I get started. I'm not going to take you along to water plants in the kitchen today. It's not super exciting. There's trays, like seed trays, and the pots are in them, and I kind of just add the water to the seed tray and let it bottom water. It's the fastest way. So that's what I'm going to do today. And then I know I'm going to do a moss pole. Let me put you back up here. I'm going to do a moss pole watering day one day, but I watered the other night, and it was really late in the evening. I'm a night owl. You'll figure that out. I'll probably do a lot of videos in the middle of the night. And I just didn't want to get the camera set up and everything. Battery was probably too low. So I just did a quick watering on moss poles the other night, and so I will do that again in probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or Sunday. So they're just not quite ready yet, and I got other things to do today. So a couple things I forgot to tell you guys. I'll add it to see if I can splice this together and add it back in. pH testing, I forgot to show you that. So I bought this kit on Amazon, and usually I'm an Amazon affiliate, and I do share my Amazon links, and they're usually in the form of a Linktree link in the description of the video down below. And so you can see all my Amazon favorites. I've got all my fertilizers, all my nutrients and everything linked on there. And then I don't think the pH kit is on there, so I'll have to add that. So it's a little kit. This is the solution to test the pH. And then the kit that I bought came with a pH up. I don't have my split screen on here. Dang it. Okay, so it comes with the pH up and the pH down solution, so that if you need to adjust up or down, and you do in the beginning want an up and a down, because you need to figure out if you need to go up or go down. And while you're kind of learning and figuring out how much you need, you might have to readjust. You might go too far up or too far down and need to add the opposite solution to get to where you're trying to go. Now I probably would only buy the pH down because that's the one I use. And I have a whole bottle of up because I hardly ever use it now that I figured out the amount of down that I need. So you take the solution, the testing solution, you dip in some of your water, put about 3 drops in there, and then shake it up, and then you can test the color. So let's see, what camera am I at? Here we go. Hopefully you can see. This is still a little bit green on the green side. I could bring this down a little bit more. So let's add a tiny bit more of that. pH down. You want to be, this stuff is, you should probably wear gloves, right? So I'm just putting a little tiny bit in there. And I'm going to give it another stir. We'll retest. It seems to be pretty instant. I've checked it right away, and I've also let it sit and come back and checked it, and it didn't really change a whole lot. 3 more drops. And now we're getting more on the yellow side. Hopefully that's in frame and you can see it. So it's getting more orangey yellow. Some of that green is coming out of there. And I'm just gonna put this in my little calathea here. It's close enough for me, right? I could bring it down a little bit more, but I would, that's kind of what they're used to, is that little bit of just on the, where it's just starting to get kind of yellow greeny. And then I have this, the other little trick I wanted to show you. Ooh. I just have this small little watering can, and I just keep it close by, and this is what I water. I go around and kind of water my plants with. I'll take the whole 5-gallon bucket into the kitchen to water the plant stands in the kitchen today, but I'm out of frame. So I'll take the whole big bucket into the kitchen along with the watering can so that I can fill up the trays, because I don't want to walk back and forth 500 times. But when I'm watering out here in the plant room, I just use the little gray watering can, and it fits in my bucket. I have a bigger watering can, but it doesn't fit in the bucket very well. And so even though I don't have to refill it as many times, I can't get it all the way full because it doesn't really fit. This little one just works better. So that's what I do. That's my little quick tip for watering. And if you have some tips, please share them in the comments. I would love to hear them, because watering is, you know, an ongoing thing that you have to do when you have 700 plants. Or even 50 plants, you still have to water them. It doesn't matter how many you got, they got to be watered. And also, if you guys can do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe. That really will help me build the channel. This is a new channel, and I am no expert at this. I am just sharing with you guys my journey, what I do, what I've learned along the way. And most of what I've learned is from other YouTubers. So, you know, there's a bunch of great YouTubers out there. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.